Hi, welcome to Thoughtful Planning. I'm Honey.
And I'm Santiago. Before we begin, please note the information shared in this episode is for educational purposes only. So let's start with our essential question. What impact do you want your final farewell to have on your loved ones and possibly the environment?
Great question, babe. And what if the most meaningful way to honor a life isn't what funeral homes typically offer? Over the past few months, we've taken a deep dive into end-of-life options, and what we've discovered has completely changed how we think about final arrangements.
Today, we're going to bring everything together from what we've learned from our recent interviews about various end-of-life options. And we're adding a few additional methods you might consider that we found in doing our research.
So let's start by challenging something most of us believe, or at least I did.
I did too.
What we commonly see today and is a standard practice, which is embalming, metal caskets or wooden caskets, and concrete vaults. And the vaults, this is what is in the ground that you typically don't see. This is actually called a conventional burial. Many of us think of this as traditional because it's what we've grown up seeing. But these practices became standard during the Civil War era. In addition, cremation is also on the rise as the costs are less than a conventional burial.
Yeah, that's right. So throughout our interviews, we've learned so much about so many different options that are available that might align better with your personal views and your environmental consciousness.
Right, so through our interview with Anato Reyes in episode 36, we learned about home funerals, which many people don't realize are legal in most states. Remember how surprised we were to learn that families can care for their loved one at home, host a more intimate gathering, take time for personal goodbyes, often save significantly on costs, and even transport them with proper documentation.
I think that's more of what I guess people could consider more traditional because that happened in the past and now we're going back to it, that full circle. And
Right.
that's when we explored our natural burials with Sunny Markham in episode 37. We also learned that uh, at a natural burial cemetery, there's no embalming chemicals allowed. Wicker caskets or shrouds are used. You're directly buried into the earth, no concrete barriers. And you're often in dedicated natural burial grounds.
Some fascinating newer options we discussed in episodes 38 with resources from Recompose, and also episode 39 with our guest Lilia Fuller include human composting, also known as natural organic reduction, and then aquamation, which is a water-based alternative to cremation. Although both are not legal in all states, so make sure to research what your state allows.
I think with both of those, it's just a way to think about it is you're decomposing at a faster pace
Than a
the
natural,
natural,
like in the ground.
yeah, in the
Yeah.
ground. So I mean, it goes quicker, and there's no nasty byproducts like with embalming. So and there's even more alternatives that people might not be aware of yet, and you can further research these on your own. One is a memorial wreath where cremated remains are put into a wreath area and it becomes part of a natural conservation area at sea. There's burials at seas with the option of both your full body or cremated remains being buried at sea, and scientific body donation, where you either support medical research or medical education of some sort. So remember to always check what's allowed in your state so that you know the options that are available to you.
And then here are a couple of options you might hear about, and some are still in development. For example, tree pod burials. Currently, these are only available for cremated remains. Full body is still being developed. And then the other one is called freeze-dried burial or cremation, which is also still being developed.
I thought the pods was a real thing for a while. We'd seen so many articles on it and stuff. I think it's a great idea, but it's not there yet.
Not for full body.
Not for full body, just for the cremated remain. After exploring these options, here's some key factors that you may want to consider. Your personal values and beliefs. What's better for you? Environmental impact. How much of an impact is your body going to be after you pass? Cost considerations, because some of these things could get quite expensive. And legality. Is it legal wherever you live?
Right. And then one of the biggest lessons we've learned is the importance of pre-planning. So remember in our episode number 35 with Patty Trujillo, she talked to us all about pre-planning. She let us know that we can lock in current prices on a lot of the things, not everything. And then this would help prevent family stress and family drama. It ensures your wishes are honored, and it can include travel protection. She told us a story about someone who was out of country,
In France, I think, wasn't it?
something like that, and then
Yeah.
their everything was covered because that person had travel protection insurance.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that happening. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a good thing to think about, even within the states, not even outside the United States. If you die somewhere, having that protection would help. So, what type of burial are we planning? Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I'm still thinking about it. But my choice, if I were king for a day and we're going to pass tomorrow, I think I'd want to go to somewhere that human composting was legal, and like Washington State or something like that, and then be buried in the forest where the trees are, so that I could help sustain the trees, which sounds kind of a little freaky or whatever, but I think it would be cool,
Yeah.
be buried out there and knowing or passing, thinking that my body's helping to sustain nature.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's me. And
Yeah.
I let you plan everything else, yours and text and everything.
So I do like the human composting. That is pretty cool. Like honestly, when I first learned about that one, I thought it was kind of
Kind of strange, a
yeah,
little
it
weird.
was interesting to learn about, but there, and which is the whole reason why we talk about this and bring this to your awareness is so that you're also aware and you can think about it too
Yeah,
and learn more about it and do your own research. So I would say for me, because we live in Texas, what is available is a natural burial.
yeah.
So I would choose that one um, as an environmentally safe option. My wish is though that true natural burials, were allowed at the National Cemetery near us. So maybe that will happen one day. Um, I also recommend that having a backup plan is a great idea. So, for example, if I were to die in another country while we were traveling, sometimes some places, depending on the different laws, you may not be able to come back unless you are embalmed. And I definitely know I do not want to be embalmed. So, if that were the case, then I would want to be cremated in that country and then just my ashes come back and then maybe the ashes are turned into jewelry or a keepsake of some sort, and then the rest of the ashes are just scattered where it's legal. I don't really have a special spot yet that I can think of. And then so for our pet Tex, now that we know that aquamation is legal for pets in Texas, that was our episode with Lilia Fuller, episode 39. Then I think we'd choose this option. What do you think, babe? You
I
like
think
it?
I think that one, you know, the cremation for me is still an issue because of the amount of energy that it takes, and then mercury being released in the air and into the environment. So I think that with aquamation and basically that water salt solution that they use, breaking down. I think it would be cool if we had that option too. But I think that that's probably the best way for text to pass. I think
Yeah.
after they do what they do in the vets. If we have to do that, which
Mhm.
oh, I don't want to think about that, but yeah, I think that would be
Well, I
cool.
mean, we're talking about each other and we need to document these things and really think about it. So, again, here we are having a conversation because we're kind of still not exactly sure yet.
Yeah.
And so this gives us time, hopefully lots of time,
Well, I know.
to
Yeah, well, I know
consider the different
that
options.
Max and Rex are both cremated, and they're downstairs. And for I just think that it would be really cool for techs to be environmentally friendly.
Yeah, and I think if we knew that before, we would have done that
Probably
with
so.
the other two dogs. And then, of course, there is another option too, that when we interviewed Sunny Markham at Countryside Memorial, she mentioned that she's going to be opening a pet cemetery, so that would be more of a natural burial option. I kind of like the idea of our pets being with us. So if I have, like, obviously we have the ashes of Rex and Max, if I'm buried in a natural burial, then I can have their ashes with me. So I think that'd be cool.
Don't bogart the boys.
Not all the ashes, some of the ashes, because we have two kids that might want some ashes too. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah. The way we look at our dogs, they're just not pets. They're part of the family. I know a lot of you also think that. And then for me, uh, Max will always have a special place in my heart because he was my cancer buddy. Before we wrap up, let's revisit our essential question. What impact do you want your final farewell to have on your loved ones and the environment? Because there's only one Earth, and we've got to take care of it.
Yeah. So we hope today's conversation has inspired you to explore the options available for your end of life planning. We'll include links in the show notes to the episodes we've referenced in this podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who might find it helpful. Until next time, remember, every chapter you write today shapes your legacy tomorrow. Thank you for joining us at Thoughtful Planning.